477.
With the power of Tandem HR, you are in the fast lane on Main Street with Get Down to Business with Shalom Klein, the show for business and jobs. Now, the champion of networking, the advocate of jobs, the guru of business, your host, Shalom Klein.
We are all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship and business. We talk a lot about business here. You're on with Get Down to Business, and I'm your host, Shalom Klein. Remember, you can always download podcasts from Get Down to Business on my website at shalomklein.com. And while you are there, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Shalom Klein. It's going to be a jam-packed week of content and information you will not want to miss. It's a live show. That's right. You could call us here in studio at 312-642-5600, 312-642-5600. And we are joined by a full studio of fantastic guests. First up on the program, I've got my friend Mike Lauesen here, who has literally written the book. And Mike, I'm thrilled to be the first to bring it out to our listening audience. Mike, thanks so much for making the trip out here to the beautiful WIND studios in Elk Grove Village. Tell us a little bit about the book and a little bit about your background.
Shalom, thank you first for having me on the show. My background in business was accounting, and then I went into sales, started a chemical business, and ended up selling that a number of years into it. And through that journey, I always thought about writing a book. I thought it might be on business. Instead, it's on life. And the title of the book's Getting Off the Treadmill, Escaping the Race to Nowhere. And I wrote this from my standpoint because I see a lot of people on the treadmill of life. We all spend time on the treadmill. Hopefully we spend less time on it after we read the book.
It's interesting, Mike. You and I have had a few conversations, and I actually had the good fortune of getting a sneak peek of the book before I actually traveled out of town on business. So typically on planes, I have a good opportunity to slow down, pardon the metaphor over here, but slow down and actually read. And it really is a fantastic read for all of our listeners, but more about that in a moment for how our listeners can find it. Mike, you had, as you implied a moment ago, an interesting career. Tell us a little bit about some of the people that have inspired you and what they have inspired you with. What are some of the lessons that you know now that perhaps going into your career you wish you would have known?
Well, I was fortunate. Before I started my career in college, I had a baseball coach, George Thomas, and George was just an incredibly positive person. He really was. And so I learned to deal with adversity of baseball because it's a game of kind of failure in many respects. My dad was a blue-collar guy, a lather, which is lath and plaster, like carpentry. And my dad loved his work, and he was passionate about his work. And so I saw how good tired my dad was at the end of each day. It's part of the book, Good Tired. So Dad was an inspiration to me. My mother really knew how to pay attention. My mom was a voracious reader, and she taught me the power of presence.
So positivity, presence, which I think is an important word that you talk a lot about in the book. There's clearly a lot of people that have inspired you. Do you have any regrets? Do you think that you would have done things differently in your busy, and again, I don't use that word lightly, your busy career? Do you have any regrets?
Regrets are a word, I think, where you look in the rearview mirror. And could you have done some things different? Yes, but you got to learn from it. And then through learning, you do it differently. So I don't have any significant regrets in my life. I'm very fortunate for that.
So young entrepreneur that's out there that might be listening to this program, they have the fantastic business idea, and they are all gung-ho. They want to make things happen. They're willing to work 22 hours a day, work around the clock, do whatever it takes. That's great. That energy is fantastic. What's the lesson of Get Off the Treadmill? What can you tell them?
Well, I always think of balance. I always think of balance in life. You have 168 hours in a week, period. And so if you have a family, depending upon when you're deciding to start a business, lean on folks that have done it. get counsel from people who haven't done it, all walks of life. Be a ready student. My favorite quote is, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
We're chatting with the author of a fantastic new book, Get Off the Treadmill, learning some interesting lessons about the folks that have inspired you, Mike, and as well as the lessons they've learned along the way. You just mentioned relationships and having a center of influence, perhaps a mentor. How important has that been to you in all of your different professional pursuits?
Well, mentors, coaches, sometimes they're synonymous, sometimes they're not. I have been more than fortunate from the time when I was young, through college, in business, from colleagues. It's really countless. I was in a group called Vistage. It used to be called Tech. It was a peer group of business owners. And my chair met with me for years, once a month. My peers in the group were great mentors. I think you can find mentors young and old. You just have to be ready for it.
Interesting. So what, tell us, walk us through the process of writing the book. Was it hard to, you've learned a lot of things over time. Was it hard to sort of collect all those thoughts and put them down on paper? Because you did a fantastic job of it, but tell us a little bit about the experience and how it came together, how long it took.
2.5 years.
Oh, wow.
That's the short answer. I got started with indie publishing, and Henry DeVries told me, just write your thoughts. Write them for 30 days and send them to me. And then we chatted about them, and he said, okay, write some more thoughts. And then 60 days later, he said, I think we can start working on a title, and let's start working on chapter titles, because I think you've given me a lot of them. And frankly, I was quite astounded from that. Now, I did do a lot of writing, but it was just a jumbling of thoughts. From then on, it was really creating the structure of the chapters, because I'm a huge baseball fan. There's 9 chapters, like 9 innings in a game. So the process was cathartic, and it was, in many respects, many moments where I felt something bigger was happening to me. Call them God moments, call them thin places, as I discuss in the book. Frankly, it was a wonderful experience. It was hard, and it's wonderful to have the book released now.
I'm sure there was a big celebration in your house when you wrapped up that process and it actually started going to print. So speaking of going to print, again, I had the good fortune of taking a peek over the past weekend of the book. I did not finish yet, Mike, but I am looking forward to continuing what is truly a fantastic read. Our listeners are surely listening with eagerness to figure out where they can get their copy. Mike, clue us in.
Well, it's available on Amazon, which is great. The electronic format will be out in about 2 weeks.
Again, Get Off the Treadmill.
Yep, Getting Off the Treadmill, Escaping the Race to Nowhere. So if you go into Amazon and you find that, if you Google me, Mike Lauesen, spelled a little funky, Lauesen, you'll also see a little video. So it's available and will be available in all electronic versions probably in the next days, but right now it's in paperback. Hardcover will be available in about a week.
That's fantastic. So clearly there's 9 chapters, which now we understand the reason for it. Again, 9 innings of baseball, although you wouldn't know that from watching the Chicago Cubs. But so that said, you squeezed your thoughts into those 9 chapters. Will there be a forthcoming volume?
I've been asked that. I've got a lot of work to do. My goal really is to do a lot of professional speaking with this book, because I think it lends itself to a keynote as well as a workshop because
Absolutely.
of the tools in it. I have thought of what's next now that you're off the treadmill, but I'm also a movie buff, so my wife gave me a fantastic title that I can't repeat because it's too long, about the wisdom of movies. So there will be another book, but I don't know when it'll be.
Okay, well, Mike Lauesen, again, the author of a fantastic book, Getting Off the Treadmill. You could check it out on Amazon. Purchase a copy of the book. I highly recommend to all of our listeners that you do it. Lots of great lessons, lots of interesting metaphors, and some great inspiration from a man who has had a very, very interesting career and has learned quite a few lessons. Highly recommend the book, Getting Off the Treadmill. Check it out on Amazon. But Mike, you just mentioned something that you are looking to do, some speaking, perhaps to some business groups. Mm-hmm. How can our listeners contact you if they want to discuss some of those opportunities?
Well, I think the easiest way is just do it electronically. M. Lauesen Lauesen @gmail.com. You can also do it with the URL, which is, of course, www.gettingofftheTreadmill.com, of course. I also have something as a link with Mike Lauesen. So there's a lot of ways to get a hold of me.
Fantastic. Well, Mike Lauesen, thank you so much for joining us here in studio. We are running out of time, but momentarily we will be joined by an executive from a fantastic, innovative company called Sound World Solutions. They are changing the way hearing aids work, and indeed, that's what we like to profile here on the show, all about small business jobs and entrepreneurship. We love to spotlight folks that are making a difference, like Mike Lauesen, as well as talk about innovative solutions, innovative companies. Listen, get down to business. We are powered by our good friends at Tandem HR, your solution center. You can find them online, tandemhr.com. Brand new website, by the way. Or give them a call, 630-928-0510, 630-928-0510. Of course, you can download podcasts from our show at shalomklein.com. We'll be right back.